All right. Drive some bows. All of them.
What's up, YouTubers? Bros Before Bows, we're back. Back for another episode. Kent wanted to review the Bowmar Nose Button, which I think is a great idea. Obviously, we're not affiliated with Josh Bowmar. Just happened to come across it. I've been, thinking about trying it out, and actually, one of the bows I picked up had it on. So we had the opportunity to get some experience with it. And so I'm going to let Kent do the review, and then at the end, I will go ahead and add my 2 cents. So enjoy.
So, I don't know how well you're gonna hear me, how well you're gonna see me. Like I said, Bowmar Nose Button, we're gonna put it on. It's kind of different doing this without the other part of the cast. And I ended up in different part of the country than where the other bro from Bros Before Bows is. So you can see installation for this. So I don't know if that makes any sense. But we're still gonna be working on content. Maybe not together as much in the same place, but still in collaboration, sending footage back and forth and working on things together. So a little bit of background about Bowmar Nose Button. Josh started using it probably about 4 or 5 months ago. He actually, if you've seen our content, we had purchased some bows, used bows on eBay. One of his bows came with a Bowmar Nose Button on it. We'd seen a couple of things online. We'd actually seen the content from Josh Bowmar. If you guys haven't seen that stuff, he's got some really good informative information about how to set up arrows, tune your bows, work on your own things, and he's very meticulous, much to the same extent that both Josh and I, when we work on our stuff, we're pretty detailed and pretty, I don't know, meticulous, I would have to say. Maybe like controlling all the elements of the things that we can control, so that when we get into situations, we know that our equipment's gonna perform the way we want it to perform. So anyway, that being said, Josh shot a little while. He'd actually tinkered with it for a while, and he started telling me about all the benefits that he had found from using that nose button. We'd listened to a couple of different podcasts, actually. Greg Poole, and I think it was actually on a podcast with Garrett Weaver on Point. They did a podcast discussing the nose button. I'm not going to go into all of the details of that podcast, but it explains really well the benefits and maybe even some advantages that the nose button has over, let's say, something else like a kisser button or other types of things. So I'm not going to go into those details. Greg Poole does a great job of kind of systematically and mathematically talking about it's worth. Bowmar Nose Button, I'm gonna put it on here and maybe even talk about some of the things that I really like about it. And like I said, there's other people that have talked about it that do a better job about explaining its benefits and of why it's probably worth trying out, if not probably worth putting on every rig that you shoot. So this, I showed a little clip of this bow. This is the first time I've actually owned a Bowtech. Finding some things out I like about it. There's other things that maybe I don't like about it. Maybe if you guys are interested in it, I'll put a review together. But I'm setting this up as kind of maybe a 3D range or more of a target setup, but it has the capabilities to hunt just as well. So you just snap that nose button on. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of measuring off another setup, kind of where I had it set up on the other setup as in relation to my. So before I get it too tight, I'm gonna make sure that it's in a fairly decent spot, but cinch it pretty tight first to begin with. Okay, so it's still a little bit loose. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just test this, make sure it's in a good spot, kind of get it into the right spot. That actually feels pretty dang close. So I'm gonna cinch that down. See, if you look really close, that's Mr. Levi Morgan. If he uses it, I should probably use it. But you can see right in that picture, it's just right under the tip of his nose. One of the things that Greg Poole talks about as far as like the tactile sensation and things like that, you've got a lot more feeling on the tip of your nose of pressure, especially the way that they've got this, it's designed with points on it. And those points will make sure that you're not pushing too much pressure up into that string because it's painful. You're like, ouch, I don't wanna push too hard. It's just enough. In addition to that, depending, like say for instance, if you're shooting a kisser button, your mouth, depending on what position you're putting your face in, that corner of your mouth is gonna change, which would change the orientation of your anchor point. Not necessarily the orientation of your anchor point, but that in relation to your anchor point. If you're grimacing, you got your mouth open, there's too much variation that can happen. The tip of your nose is always gonna be in the same spot. It's not gonna change. You can't actually move it with a muscle or anything like that. So that's another benefit to shooting this nose button, right? I think he actually even put some speed tests online about, there was some question on, this is actually the big one. I actually used the small one on my hunting rig for last year. And I actually got some more setups that I'm actually gonna put it on. But my point to that is he did some speed tests, showed that the speed was not changed with the small or the large button. When you order these, you actually get two. You get the small one and the large one. So, I mean, for the price that you pay for these, I think I paid like, I wanna say 14 bucks for this. The price that you pay for this, I can't think of another accessory that you could put on your bow that will help improve consistency that quick, that costs less than $14. So if you're skeptical, give it a shot. You're only going to be out $14. Anyway, I should be having Josh do this review because he's the one that changed my mind on it. I was, like I said, I was the skeptic. I was like, yeah, it actually comes with string. I'm just gonna get a hold of these with a set of pliers so that it's kind of cold in here. My fingers are cold. Just to kind of cinch this guy down. The great part about this constrictor knot is the harder you pull, the tighter it squeezes. It's not gonna come undone. It's not gonna move up and down on that. Like I said, I didn't do a very good job of showing how to tie that, so if you're interested, Josh Bowmar actually does a little bit more in depth on his YouTube channel. I won't steal his thunder. And he shows how to tie that constrictor knot. And that's really all it is. It's super, I don't know, you saw me kind of eyeball it. I kind of measured it off my last one, but really that's all it takes. Slide it on there, pull it back, get into your anchor, make sure that your anchor is natural and that you're feeling that pressure on the tip of your nose, right where you want it, where you can remember to put it every time. And it's not something that's automatic, but it definitely helps. So that's another thing to kind of be careful of. Josh found out when he was tinkering with it that when he was melding the knots, he actually melded some of the posts on here, which some people do on purpose so that point isn't so sharp, digging them up in the nose. And I actually prefer it like nice and sharp, so I'm not pushing a lot of tension, so I'm gonna be careful not to melt those spikes, if that makes any sense. And there's that. Quite a few reviews on the Bowmar button. So Instagram, you see just about every other day. There's, in fact, 2 to 3 times a day, people posting Robin Hooded arrows from the Bowmar Nose Button. I'll have to say that my groups, especially the vertical group, improved substantially. I think that's all I'm gonna do for that. And maybe I'll get some footage of me shooting. I'm gonna go out and shoot. And test it out.
Okay, so there you have it. I knew Levi Morgan was endorsing it, so I figured, hey, if it's good enough for him, maybe we should take a look at it. I thought about it a few times, and then I picked up this bow. So that bow was the Traverse. When I first picked it up and started using it with the nose button, instantly I was shooting really well with the bow. Probably better than I had ever shot before. And I was giving most of the credit to the bow, but I believe there was something to do with that nose button. And I was shooting a lot. I was shooting quite a bit. And this is before I had shoulder surgery. And I haven't quite made it back to that point yet, but I was shooting probably more than I'd ever shot before. We're talking a few hundred arrows almost every day. I rarely would go more than a day or two without shooting. I had other bows and I just couldn't shoot them as well. And I started realizing that it was because my anchor was a little bit inconsistent. Even though, we all feel like we're doing the same thing every time, I think without having that third point of contact, not just the third point, but that reference point on that third point. I mean, most guys that are shooting a lot will have their string come up across their nose. But if you don't have a reference on that string, you might, and all it takes is just a little bit, and your accuracy can change. You can be a little over here, up or down. I happened across this podcast that Kent mentioned, and Greg Poole was confirming all the things that I was saying about the nose button. But go check out the podcast. If you don't listen to podcasts, I encourage you to go check them out. There's a lot of good information that you can get, and I'll also say that always be a little skeptical of what motivates people to say what they're saying. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Levi Morgan is using the nose button. His margin of improvement by using the nose button is very narrow. That's one of the things that Greg Poole talked about. He's living right on the edge. I mean, one arrow could make or break a tournament for him. So he's looking for anything he can do to gain that one arrow. We're not at that level, so our margin for improvement is greater. And so you might put a nose button on and see a drastic improvement. You might not. Try it out and see what you think. That's all I'm saying. It's cheap, it's easy, it's really easy to set up. You don't have to have a low press, you don't have to have any special equipment. It comes with the string to tie the knots. On the back of the package, it gives you the instructions on where to go to get the information, how to tie the knot. It's basically just Josh Bowmar's YouTube channel, and he's got a video that he explains how to tie that knot. Super easy to put on, super easy to use. There's nothing to lose basically by trying it out. I can almost guarantee that you're going to see some improvements as long as you're using it correctly.